Good day, and welcome to How We Got Here, Genealogy. How's everybody doing today? So, today's topic is, geez, I'm starting to sound like my an old Bob and Doug McKenzie skit. Anyways, today's topic is the Canadian Census and the Canadian Census and how to use it and help you in genealogy. So let's get going. I'm trying something a little different today. So if you guys are watching live, just let me know if the audio and everything's good, and if I'm trying to stream both vertically and horizontally at the same time. So I'm not sure how that's going to work, but we'll see how it goes. And yeah, I'm close to a milestone of 3,000 subscribers. So I'd really appreciate it. And you, whether you're watching on the replay or watching live, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing now. And my camera is flickering. So I've been having some issues lately with my camera. Let's see if I can guys here. Seems to always have problems. You can never have enough. Okay. I'm just going to add a second camera here in case I need it. So I'm just getting that switched up. Okay. So now, once I get that switched up, we'll see how that goes. It's showing my connection is fairly stable. So I'm just going to add the other video capture device here so I can do it. Let me see if that does it. There we go. Whoa. There we go. That actually looks better on this one. Face is a little glowing, no? Let me see. I'm going to try to adjust some lights here. There, that's a little better. Okay. So I think I might keep that camera for this one here. Just because that might help out a little. And if I take that there and take that off, boom, that's there. Let's see if this is going to do this. Okay, there. And it's not connecting that camera. Okay. Okay, well, let's just change that back. There we go. I was hoping it would do that, but it didn't work. Okay, so what we're going to do is, like I say, we're going to talk a little bit. If you're watching, you have any questions, make sure you leave them in the chats, and I will try to answer them as we go through. And as always, at the end of the stream, I have a specific period where I'm going to be last call, where you can, it's a kind of a free for all where I take the last little bit of questions in case I missed anything. So I'm going to start, I guess I'm going to share a little bit about the Canadian Census for people that are unfamiliar. I think it was back in, I want to say 1901 or 1911, all the British Commonwealth decided to do a common census date so they could also get a census of the British Commonwealth. Actually, it might have been 1921. Anyways, the census is done every 10 years, and it's on the first year of the decade. So there was just one done in 2021. Next one will be 2031. And the federal government releases them 93 years after the original date they were taken. So the 1931 census was just released last year in 2023. Sorry, it must be 92 years after the original date, which is fairly good. I know the Americans, they're up a little higher. I think they're in the 50s already. It was quite exciting getting the 1931 census. There was a lot of new stuff. Also, these records are kept on the Library and Archives Canada, and they did some great updates around the time just before they were bringing the 1931 census online. So you could search all the censuses at once, which I found some success to, some not. One of the big things is when you start narrowing things down, you think you have the right name for the district, they've gone and changed it. So it's often good to know what you're looking at. Anyways, the link for the census, I'm going to actually put in on the bottom here. So just 1 second, while I do that. So if you want to follow along, you can do this. I'm just going to show this for a little bit. And I'm going to share it here. I'm not sure how well this will share on the vertical stream. So if you're watching this using the YouTube Shorts, what it'll look like, what we'll see. Okay, so I'm going to add that there, and there we go. So this is what the website is. It brings up the census. It also has some pre-Confederation census there. It has Lower Canada 1925, 1831, Canada East and Canada West. You'll notice there's a difference there for 1842, and that's because they changed the names from Upper Canada and Lower Canada to Canada East and Canada West. Canada West basically being what is Ontario, Canada East being what is Quebec. Atlantic Canada, the Maritimes were their own separate colonies, not whereas Canada was one colony but had two portions. They also had an 1851 and 1861 census. So that's all the pre-Confederation ones, and then you have all the Dominion of Canada ones. And these here are start at 1871. There's one just for Ontario, but you can actually get all of Canada from 1881 all the way to 1931. Now, there was a few ones in regards to the prairies. Part of this was, the first one was when shortly before Manitoba joined Confederation. They joined in, I believe it was 71 or 73. I can never remember their exact date. Anyways, there was a census done in Manitoba shortly before that. And then some of the other ones were done in the prairies. They were sort of mid-census period questionnaires, and a lot of it had to do with trying to track information in regards to farming. It's really basic. You can search first name, last name. You can use wildcards in here, but actually I found that what you need to do is is just type like, for instance, if you're looking for the name John and you're not sure if it was, say if you were looking for Jonathan, if you weren't sure it was Jonathan or Jonathan, you could just leave that and it would look it up. Same as last names. Unfortunately, it doesn't have for me, that has a lot of Scottish heritage, it doesn't have it doesn't actually recognize the mix and the max as the same for as far as searching. So if I searched for McDonald, I can't tell it's also search MacDonald or McGuinness, etc. Age, you can set the age and you can set the birth. Now, the problem is when you set these, age, for instance, that's really good if you're searching a specific census, but if you're searching all of them, this is where the problem of doing multiple searches come in sometimes. Not all of them had the age or birthday, year of birth recorded. And with the age on these, you have to remember, I noticed from own personal experience, a lot of times when these are getting done, the all the ages are kind of estimated, and so it can be, if the person was born before the census period, you'll probably have an accurate age, because a lot of times they've just gotten the year of birth and they figured out the age themselves. Problem is the census is done, if I think, like I said, it was starting later. It was done specifically the first day of the first week of June, I believe. There's some very specific dates there, but when it was done at that point, if the person was born before then, that was great because their age would be right. If it was born after then, the age would be wrong. For instance, in 1931, if you were born in 1923 in October, or 1922 in October, so you would on the 1921, so you can't compare. And you put your you put your birth years down as 1922. They may assume your age is already as if your birthday had happened in 1931. So they would put down your age as 9, where at that point you'd still be 8 and some odd months. So that's, you can set a range there. It's not bad. There's some more things here. I'm going to go over these in a minute. This province is and where, that's pretty that's really, pretty obvious. Now, again, you'll see here the upper lower Canada, that's sort of where it describes it. But let's go back to this who and this more section. So this could be some things that are recorded, not in every census, but on some census. And sometimes it can be useful to help if you know what's recorded in the particular census. It'll be helpful if you know what that should be showing up. Gender is always a good one because that will help. Though I have seen people misgendered in the census. Especially with some names that could be either male or female. Ethnic origin is interesting. I have a lot of family that's from Scotland, as I said before, and normally if you're of Scottish background, you would not call yourself Scotch, because Scotch is a drink, a very nice drink, one I enjoy to abide in every so often myself, but it is not usually how you would refer to your own self. So I'm going to switch cameras here. That's flicking too much for me. There we go. It's a little brighter and a little more washed out, but I think in the long run, that's probably less annoying than the flickering. So you really got to be careful there that they actually have it right. And also, depending on the area, they may have just put you as British or English. So it's you really kind of have to know what you're looking for. Religion, again, it's not always recorded. Birth country, that can be helpful. Again, it's not recorded on every census year, but it is in a lot of them. I know actually probably the 1911 census is really good. It has all these different things. Relationship to the household, that can be helpful if you're looking for somebody that you know should be living with their parent and their son, or if they're the head of the household, you suspect. Again, you need to be careful, and there's times when it's an older parent whose spouse maybe is deceased, or because multi-generational homes were more common, an older parents could be not listed as the head of household, but actually just father or mother of the head of household. Even if in the previous census, maybe they were listed at the same address as the head of households, it's just that, for instance, their son took over the farm, so he's considering himself the head of household, and his parents are living with him and are in they're just part of the family as opposed to being the head of household. So you need to be careful there. Again, a lot of these they could be helpful. You don't necessarily want to use everyone, but they're really good there if you know certain things to be true. Gender, for instance, is one. Most times it is correct, though I have run across people that is where it has not been correct. Usually, most times it's either because there's a bad interpretation of the writing, or it was a name that could be gender neutral, so to speak. Just 1 second there. My cat was thinking it's a good thing to come in and stir up things while I'm doing this live stream. So when we're looking at this, we're going to concentrate on just basically the basics, same as the where. There's a few things in there you can do. Again, unless you're looking for a specific census, be careful around here because the district names and stuff can change, as well even the description of where people live, especially if you're dealing with some small communities. Some small communities may be recognized as themselves, and then the next time the census is done, they could be just incorporated into a larger community or a different name. Because I find especially in the early 20th century, late 19th century, a lot of place names I think might have changed. They were very fluid in the sense that they would change from time to time, even though it would be the same house. Just what people started to refer to things as, because they weren't established communities that were incorporated. So again, it's not always the best. The issue is, which can be helpful if you're looking at a census and for instance, you're looking at the 1921 census and you're finding some people that are in a specific district and you know other people should be in that district and it's a really common name, you can then narrow it down. So why would you use the census in your actual in your research? One of the reasons to use census sometimes is to confirm information. I've used quite a bit to confirm sometimes occupation. You can find occupation there, which are not listed on your regular records. I can also give you a sense if you're looking for a marriage record. You're not sure when a specific set of parents, grandparents, great grandparents, etc., were married. You can then sort of, if you find them as singular people, in, for instance, the 1871 census, but in the 1881 census, they're now married as a couple. You know, it was sometime in there. So when you're starting to search for your marriage records, you've nailed yourself down. Also to find parents, I have a good example of one that I used, is I had a picture of my grandmother, had a picture of my grandmother's mother. I did not know much about her family. A couple years ago, when I started doing a little more research on it, part of the problem was she had a very common name. And then, lo and behold, one of my grandmother, when she was 98, we were packing up some of the things in her home, and I was getting a hold of a lot of pictures, and I came across a really nice picture. In fact, I did a video about it of her grandfather and one of her uncles. And on it, she has her grandfather's name and her uncle's name. Now I knew her mother's name because she was alive in my life, and I knew her mother's sister's name because she was alive in my life, but I did not know anybody else in the family. So this actually allowed me to have, when I was looking for a Catherine McGinnis, where I thought she should live, and again, it could be spelled both ways because at different times in her life I've seen her the name spelled MC and MAC, and I wanted to narrow it down and figure out who her parents were, because there was a couple possibilities, because didn't at the time have an exact birth date, and I was able to get that from the census. Actually, I had a suspected birth range. Part of the problem is I had been told that their church where they were from there had lost some of their records from when they were younger, which for her and her aunt, her and her sister, I remember being told that. And the so it was able to help me narrow it down. I was able to then find them in the census and confirm her parents, because I was able to have that third person and able to find combinations that had the three of the four children. I think it might have been five, but one didn't have any. Well, two didn't have any offspring of their own. So there was that. Well, sorry, at least one didn't have any offspring. The aunt, my grandma's aunt, my great granddad. She was a spinster all her life, and she lived into her 90s, I believe. And so I didn't, with my great grandmother, my great granddad, and now my great granduncle, having their names and their father's names, that really helped me narrow it down. And then I could actually trace them back a little ways, and then using the census get that information. Like I was saying before about marriage dates and even parents' names, because there's lots of great information. I have somewhere behind me, these are drumsticks. These aren't normal drumsticks. These are drums from a pipe and drum band. My mother passed along them to me because, unbeknownst to me, my mom had took Highland drumming, and I knew she had done Highland dance when she was young, but I didn't know about the drumming. And she was explaining to me that she got those. The person that was had taught her was a boarder at her grandmother, my great grandmother, and his name was John L. McKinnon, which is also her surprisingly, her grandfather, so her grandmother's husband's name. But there was a boarder and I was able to confirm this when the 1931 census came out. I was able to find them where I thought they should, and I could find him, and I could find the border listed there. So it's really kind of interesting to that. So I was able to then look up some information on that person because I was curious if he was a relation, because my great grandfather was John Lachlan McKinnon, and his father was John Lachlan McKinnon. And there was a few other John L. McKinnons that were in the family when I've been able to find them. So I was curious if this was one of them, a relative somewhere. And my granduncle, my grandmother's brother, is John L. McKinnon, who's still alive. He's 96. And so I was really curious about this person, if he fit in the family tree somewhere, because I would find that interesting that he had a border. Not that you wouldn't necessarily have a cousin of your husband's or something. There's a border. So let's go and search something. If anybody has a specific thing they want to search or like to search, or like to know a little bit about the census or anything else, again, just ask your questions away in the chat. It'd be greatly, I'll try to answer them or direct you at least in the right direction to get an answer. So we're going to use this census now, and we're going to search somebody. So I'm going to just actually share a different tab for a second on my screen. And you'll see this is the one that I have been, when I show you this, I've referenced a few times in videos, a fan chart. So I'm going to start with that. So give me 1 second here. So apologize, just making this work there. Does that work? Yeah. And okay, I'm not sure how well that shows there. So I've been working on my grandmother's line. This is the fan chart I showed it off in one of my videos. This is seven generations from myself. So this would be my grandmother's grandparents. So they would be my my fourth great grandparents is at this line here. So I'm working specifically on my mother's mother, because I have all these gaps here. Now, most of the gaps are after the period where the census are going to do me any help, but I expect that I should be able to find hopefully some information. So I have here in this would be my my grandmother who's here, her grandfather on her father's side. At the end, there you go, so John L. McKinnon. I want to find a little bit of information about him. So he was born in 1824 in Inverness, and I'm actually going to bring up his full record, and we're going to see what we're going to find. So he was born in Malagawach, and sorry, I'm switching there, so it has the information. So he was born in Malagawach in Inverness, Nova Scotia. Interestingly enough, he died in Malagawach. I believe is where he was. So I'm going to look for him. He married his wife in 1867. So again, if you remember, I said the census is the first one after Confederation was 1871. So let's see if I can find them on the 1871 census. And again, I know some of their children, but not all. There's my great-grandfather, John Lachlan McKinnon, as well. He's John Lachlan McKinnon. Now, I do not have his parents' names either. If I was able to go back and find him in if they were married sort of in 1877, I might have been able to find his pre-marriage family a little easier. But let's go to the Canadian Census and we're going to look. So we're looking again for John L. McKinnon, and he's in Inverness. So I'm going to share. So I'm going to look at the 1871 census. And I know his first name is John. Now, this is where it is really curious with these people. They are sometimes listed as McKinnon, sometimes McKinnon. At one point, I've actually saw in one census the whole page of all the Mix and Max. They're generally what I find on, if you look at a page, if somebody does Mick for one, the person enumerating does Mick for all of them. So I don't know if it's their preference. I used to be told one was Catholic and one's Protestant. It's not true. They were very staunch Presbyterians, Protestant, so Scott Presbyterians, and they were listed as both Mix and Max. So I'm just going to do a couple of little things. So I know he was born about 1824. So I'm going to put his year of birth in 1824. But I'm going to set a range. And I'm going to set a range. 2 years is what I usually like to do. I know he's male. And at this point, he should be married. So I'm going to search for, I would put Presbyterian here, and I would put Scotch because probably what it's listed, but it may not. I can't remember if the 1871, I don't believe the 1871 census actually recorded that. So the information I'm hoping to find out is a little bit about his actual occupation. I'm assuming he's a farmer. He lived in a farming area, but I'm also interested in if there's other siblings than my great grandfather and the other two that I have there. So that's what I'm hoping to get out of it. I know he should be listed as the head of household, and I want to say that he probably will be, but I don't want to put that just in case there's the fact that we might come across. It's possible he's actually living with his parents, or his parents are living with him, but they're not. The father's still listed as the head of household, however you put. I do know it's in Nova Scotia. You notice it only gives you the options of the places that the census was from, which is really nice, because you could waste all day if you were looking for somebody in Saskatchewan and you click them there. So it has all this information. I'm going to put Malaga Watch, and I'm going to see if it comes up with anything first. And again, his last name, I'm going to say McKinnon at this point. But if I can't find it in McKinnon, I'll very quickly go and search that. So we're looking exactly just for the 1871 right now. So let's search. So I didn't find anybody, John McKinnon in Malagawatch, but again, Malagawatch is the one thing I'm thinking might be it, but I'm just going to change the name to C. Oh yes, I was saying there's one census where they were all like Kinnon and then Mick. So I'm going to get rid of that Malagawatch. I'm actually going to modify it and then just try Inverness. Because that's the county, so it might be there somewhere. I'm going to modify it again and search for McKinnon in 1824. Now, if they didn't record the year of birth in 1871, which there is actually places where you can go and see all the things that are there, I might be causing myself some grief, just the same as if I was searching for Saskatchewan and it didn't exist. So I do wish they actually modified some of the search fields that are available. So we're going to go get rid of that, get rid of Inverness, and modify search, and we're going to search. So we're not finding, oh, it would help if I spelled the name right. We'll search without the A and see what I find. So Victoria, okay. Cape Breton, Victoria, Inverness. Cape Breton, Inverness. So if he was born in 1824, and he would be 47. So yeah, he'd be 47 in 1871. So I'm looking for about a 47. Again, I know these places. It's why it's really important to know sort of the place names. This possibly could be him. This could be him. Okay, so let's go modify my search. We're just going to try to make it easier here. So we go back up to the top. And if we go modify search, and just because I've searched here and I know what the district is, I am going to put the district name Inverness. And it does pop that there's an Inverness district. So this should narrow it down. So now this brings me down to 15. And I said he was 47. So let's modify it. Modify myself here. I'm going to put 47. I'm going to put a range plus or minus 1-2 years. And we're going to search. So I have an Inverness in subdistrict of Waikagamo. So let's look at the record. Okay. This is the great thing. When I click on his name there, it'll bring up the record. What I really want to see here is some of this information. So this, it says his estimate year of birth 1826. Scotland, Presbyterian, Inverness, Waikagomo. I don't think it was exactly in Waikagomo, but it's possible it's listed there as a sub-district because those can be different names. So I'm looking for a few things that I know about him. I know his wife's name, and at this point in 1871, I know that my great grandfather wasn't born, and none of the other siblings were at that point. So, but I know he should be married to a woman named Charlotte. So it's highlighting here. It's saying he's on that record. But it's kind of nice is it tells me the page number, it tells me the line. So it makes it a lot easier when I go and I want to go over, and I'm looking for line 14. Okay, that's page 26, 27. So this should be 27. Look at line 14. So this is John McKinnon. And you'll see if this is him, I'm not seeing his wife there, his wife was born in 1847. So she would have been 25-ish at this point. So I'm not even seeing anybody close. So this is not him. So I'm going to go back to my records and I'm going to search MAC. And again, he's 47. Okay, I'm going to remove that age. I have no idea why that's messed up. So John McKinnon. Okay, so I'm looking for, I have one that's 73. So not having much luck there, but I know his wife's name's Charlotte. Actually, I'm going to try one thing here. Modify my. I'm going to change and I'm going to search for his wife. And again, I want to change, since I had it as male, I'm going to put female. And just because I'm not positive if I've seen the name spelled differently, depending on who's recorded it. So let's see what I find. I'm not finding any Charlotte McKinnon, and so I'm going to modify it. McKinnon, sorry, I'm going to. There we go. Like I said, she was 25. There's a Waikagomo. So let's just see. Interestingly enough, so this is page 34. Oops. So she's line number 9. So let's look it up. I'm going to go to line number 9 on page 34. So this is page 34 and 35. Page 34. And it says I'm looking at line number 9. Okay, that's Archibald. So that is not right. There's no mistaken Archibald for Charlotte. And it's McDonald. So let's just see here. I have McKinnon, John, who's 61. He's born in Scotland. And I have Grace. And then I have Duncan, McKinnon, Alexander. Now, okay. I have a Charlotte here, a Charlotte McKinnon. But yeah, that's not who I'm looking for. So let's try one back to search. And as you can tell, you might think I've never done this before on this person, but I actually have, and I have been able to find it because I've in the past. Okay. This might be the one that caused me problems. I couldn't remember if this was the one that the year that when I found them, they were all McKinnon. And then, so it's possible they weren't in the 1871 census, but I'm still thinking they should be. I'm going to modify. I'm going to look for John. And I'm going to put star. Here we're looking Nova Scotia. Subdistrict is, the district name is still Inverness. You might not like the star in front. So let's look John McKinnon. Let's get rid of the sub-district. And I'm going to go back to Charlotte. Because there was that one that was showing me in Victoria, which is very close to Inverness in a way, I think. So I have Inverness. It's the only one I'm finding is in, and that's that same one. I'm not finding anything back. So it is quite possible they are just not there, or they actually really messed up the name. I can do something like this, just if I'm really curious, because I've had it happen where the names are completely wrong. But when I do this, I will choose Inverness's district name. And I'm going to search. So this should bring me everybody whose name's Charlotte. So I have Charlotte Tingley, Charlotte McPherson, Charlotte Embry, Charlotte Roch, Charlotte Martin, Charlotte Muse, Murphy, Blue. Oh, look at this. Charlotte McKinnon, 24 years old. Like I said, she was born in 1847, so that would make her 24. But McKinnon is spelled wrong. So everything looks good there. Where I kind of expect to find her. So what does it say? She is on line 13. So sorry. And page 34, line 13. Well, wasn't this the one we looked at before? So we're going to go to page 34, line. There we go. So we have a winner. We have John McKinnon, 45, and Charlotte, 24. So he was, again, born in 1824 is the estimate I have. So that would be approximately right. Oh, we're going here almost an hour. So this could be very well the person I'm looking for. The names there, Lachlan. So we have Campbell's. Now, she was originally Charlotte Campbell. So let's look, see if we have any other Campbells around there. So we have Hugh Campbell, who is 43, possibly an older brother. Jesse. Okay. So the great thing with the census, it's helpful that you can go and actually look at pages. The page before and the page after. You can often help you find a lot of information. So let's see where I'm at here. So I'm going to go to the next page. Oops. Doesn't do there. Oh. So I know that they were listed wrongly in the 1871. Sorry. Here we go. They're 19 to 23. So there's the page before. Again, I'm just going to look to see if I see any Campbells here quickly. And I'm going to do a page after. So I'm just quickly searching for any Campbells. Okay. So we're going to go to their records and we're going to look at them. So it gives me a few things here. It gives me their sex and their age. This one doesn't have a year of birth. So the country or province of birth, if they're born in within 12 months, it's the number of months. Religion, origin. This is the ethnic origin of the family. So what would they consider themselves? As you'll notice, this is, you have a lot that says Scotch through here. Their profession, married or world, married within the last 12 months, will tell me. So then there's some information about them. So let's go down and we're going to go to John McKinnon. So he's a male. Whoops. 45, it looks like. Born in Nova Scotia. Now this will say Scotch. If I show you the whole page, it's going to do that all through. Again, this one here was the religion is Presbyterian and is Scotch. And then the next one is his occupation. He's a farmer. And then he's married, as well as his wife is married. And this was if they were married within the last 12 months. And then we get to these here, if they're going to school, if they're over 20 and unable to read, over 20 and unable to write, deaf, dumb, blind, and unsound mind. They weren't very politically correct back then. So I have nothing there. So it's not. So he was able to read, and they were able to write, and they weren't deaf, dumb, blind, or of unsound mind. But I do have 2 children. So I had Lachlan and Catherine Ann. I have a John Lachlan, who's my great grandfather. He was born in 1878. So if I skip ahead to the 1881 census, I should hopefully be able to see them there. So she died in 1931, and John died in 1919. So I should be able to find them in 1881. So let's go back and we're going to search in 1881. And shortly after this, we're going to call it a night. But we're going to do one more quick search. So I go back to my search results. I'm going to change this to the 1881. I'm actually going to go to 1881 and 1891. And we're going to, let's look for Charlotte again. You notice that times they were McKinnons. Let's try and see if they're McKinnon again. So my great grandfather was born 1878, so he should be on this one, on these ones as well. So she was 24. She should be about 34 on this one. North Mountain, I think that might be her. Same area. Notice the name spelled wrong. She's married. Presbyterian, North Mountain, same area. So let's let's look at her record. She's on page 4 and she's family number 15. This doesn't give me a line, but it's giving me the families because it does list a little differently. So let's search here. What's the family we say it was? It was family number 15. Now these families would be numbered by the from the beginning of this subdistrict, not from or from the specific enumeration area, which would be the subdistrict. So it would change each time, but it's not by page. As you notice, it doesn't match up to lines, but there we go. So we got John and we got Charlotte. Both born in Nova Scotia. Again, there are little different things here. It's their religion, origin. You'll still see Scotch there a lot, which is I find really, really funny. The good thing about this, they're here at the bottom of the page, so it's really easy to find. They're still checked. He's married. Now, this here is going to school, deaf, dumb, blind, unsound mind, married or widow. So if we go down here, I have them. We have John McKinnon. You notice this one is McKinnon MC. This is the one I was talking about before. And you have Donald MC. So let's see who we got. So there's my great-grandfather, John. So there was 3 children last time, Lachlan, Catherine, Anne. You notice she's now, this is a female. The age, 81. So that would be Catherine Ann up there, who's the daughter. You have Lachlan, who's 11. This is not 81. This is 8. And then there's a tick for whatever reason on some of these. So we had these 2. And I think we had actually maybe these 3. No, these 2. I thought there was 3 children, but I'll go back and double check. But we have Donald, Effie, and Johnny. Donald I know about. I've actually did some research on his particular line before. These other ones I haven't done. I tend not to do as much on lateral lines until I need to. But I do. That will help me with knowing this information. Great thing about the census is I can download this so I can use it again later. I can download this page. So it gives me this option here. And I'm going to download this. I have to tell it that I agree to use for research and private study purposes only, which it is. I'm going to download. I'm going to download the whole file. This would be all 30 some odd pages that it has here, because I might find some other useful information, and it's nice to have it all. It's saved. So I'm going to download that. And that is saved. So what it will be is, you see the number there. This will match. It's this image number. So it will be the records for that. Okay, so that's sort of where I'm at. So I'm going to go for my last call, because I've been doing this for just over an hour. And we're going to see where that goes, and let's do my last call here. And
let's call.
so this is your last chance to ask questions. Put them down in the comments. And
ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I need to announce its last call at
saying
the
the page
bar.
doesn't exist. Give me 1 second, Nanya. I will bring that up. I don't know why it's saying it doesn't exist. I've used it before, but let's. Let's see here. Try this. I'm going to put the long form in. I was messing around with the short URLs earlier, so that's probably what it was. So yeah, you want to go there, buy me a coffee, be greatly appreciated. There's other things you can purchase there as well. I really appreciate it. And if there's any other questions there, I'd be glad to answer them. If there's any topics you'd like to see me cover on a future live stream, or if there's a better time that these live streams work for you, let me know. You can comment if you're watching this afterwards in the comments below. So I'm going to stop the screen share there and stop the screen share there. So yeah, if there's any questions you have, leave it in the comments. If you're watching this after the live is over, if you're watching it now, you can put in your questions now. I'll greatly try to answer them, but I'm going to leave very shortly. And yeah, no, I just really appreciate y'all coming by to watch, and you have yourself a great day, and keep on searching for your ancestors.